So, when it comes to Zia Yusuf, he's gone. Isn't that crazy to say? It feels like it's been quite a while that we've been asking for it. But here we are and it's finally happened. And what I wanted to talk to you about today is it was quite a crash out, wasn't it? Because this guy right here, he had almost everyone rooting for him. And now it's just completely done a 180 and he's gone. And truth be told, I'm not going to lie. I wasn't the biggest fan of him from the get-go. Let's just say you can... I judged a book by its cover. I'm not going to lie. I was like, what? He's called Mohammed? No. So for me personally, like I said, might be shameful, but I did judge a book by its cover. But what I wanted to talk to you about, like I said, was just how much of a grip he did have on British politics. And politics is interesting. Anyone who says it's boring, I used to call it boring myself. But anyone who calls it boring, I just think they're misinformed. Because there's a couple of screenshots that you can see there. And it's not just Dan Wootton either. There was a whole host of people. And they had their full support. And honestly, it's something to be studied what happened to Zia Yusuf. We'll call him Mohammed. It's crazy, isn't it? But does he call himself Mohammed, Zia Uddin, or Yusuf? Do you know what I mean? It's a difficult pick. But as you can see on screen there, I mean, this was less than 12 months ago. It says, I'm not going to read the whole thing out, but he says, and the real standout star was a man called Zia Yusuf. And now he's just donated hundreds of thousands of pounds. I always found that shady as well. Not only did I judge a book by its cover, but someone coming into reform, just giving them 250 grand, and then essentially running the place. What? Does that mean you could just sell your house and become leader of the Reform Party and just give them, is that easy as it was? Do you know what I mean? You'd make far more than that back. Come on. Even from his Twitter. I don't know. But he definitely would have made that through other sources, like speaking fees and things like that, as well as drawing a wage through reform. He's definitely made his money back. I didn't know who the guy was before. Now he's got Dan Wootton doing... I tell you, I didn't know who he was. But he's going to predict right now that we've just witnessed one of the stars of British politics. And then he essentially referenced Obama and said that he's a bit like Obama and that he would potentially be the successor. Which it hasn't panned out that way. But Reform and that lot, they really did try and sell Yusuf to you. But like I said, it's something to be studied. How he can just come in at a flash and just leave the same as well. Even his tweets, I'll bring it up on screen. But just the way that he says that he's got a better use of his time. What? Is he really in it for the country? In fact, you know what? I can moan at the guy, but I'm not going to misquote him. So I've got it up here. I can also read it on the screen. And he says, I no longer believe working to get a Reform government elected is a good use of my time. Do you know what I mean? Is he in it for the country or what? Or is it just a cash grab? As he did do well for himself. Coming into Reform, giving him a few $100 grand. Running the place, having people pulling faces like this. I'm sorry to do that to you again. But he really, honestly, that was short-lived, wasn't it? What an era. We'll look back on this in 6 months' time and we'll go, oh yeah, I do remember him. It's weird how things work like that, isn't it? They're front and centre. And then after a couple of months, it's just they were fond memories, weren't they? Maybe not, I don't know. They might not have been fond for you. I know Paz wasn't fond when the Reform Party, when they kicked him out of the conference and followed us. He wasn't happy about that. But let me know what you think as well in the comments. Is it strange to you that Zia Yusuf has finally gone? And alternatively, does it mean that Reform are going to have less of a barrier to hide behind? Because that's another thing. I'll probably do this in another video. But Zia Yusuf took a lot of stuff for Reform. Now he's gone. I don't know, maybe they've got to answer the questions themselves. But as Elon Musk's best friend would say,
this country has gone crazy.